everyone can see and hear you.
There we go. We're live. Welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. A little miscue on our start here. I'm sure it's all my fault. I am with my good friend Denise Boudreau. And before we get started, I got take care of a little bit of housekeeping. The first thing is, I am so glad you are here watching us on this Friday. We are glad you're joining us. As you know, we are completely committed to improving the lives of people who live and work in senior living. So we would love to hear from you about two things. One is what you are doing to improve the lives of residents and team members. And we'd also like to know how we can serve you better, what things we should be talking about, what things we shouldn't be talking about. So in addition to this live stream, we produce a bunch of amazing other leadership content. We have LinkedIn posts. We have the Foresight podcast that Rachel Hill runs. We've got Tech Tuesday. And perhaps the most impactful thing we actually do is the Foresight website, where we publish new leadership content every day. It's all free. It's easy to subscribe to. You can see the QR screen code on the screen, or there's a link in the comments. And so all you have to do is click on that, give us your email. So finally, I want to say I appreciate your passion for the industry, the people you serve. And there's one more thing I want to talk about. I guess I should do it like that instead of like that, right, Denise? And that is that we have our first ever conference that we're doing called the Foresight AI Lab. It's going to take place in Las Vegas in January. Again, you can see on the screen the details. I signed the hotel contract yesterday, so we'll have the hotel details out. We've got amazing speakers. You need to be there. AI is going to impact every single senior living organization out there. And if you're sitting there thinking, nah, it's a fad, it's not a fad. It'll make the life of your residents and team members better. It'll give you bigger margins. Now, with that, let's get on with the show. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Denise, welcome. There's one more thing I got to talk about, though, before we get started. So Rebecca Weissman, who is part of our team and also my daughter, at 11:30 last night, she had a baby boy. And Grandpa, again, very excited about that. I'll post some pictures on social media later when she says it's okay. Denise, welcome. Let's start with who you are, and we've been friends forever, and so this is going to be a little bit weird because it's like you and I will catch up as friends, and we'll let everybody listen in, right?
Yes, exactly. So I am president of a company called Drive Culture Outcomes, the official name, and we work with organizations on organizational culture. So basically, how is it to work here, which then impacts the experience that the customer has, as well as turnover, the ability to recruit, and even occupancy, which has been incredible to see that research lately, its impact on occupancy. So that's who I am.
Cool. So one of the things, so I'm going to sort of, we got so much stuff I want to talk about. I really want to dig into this women's retreat you're doing, because I know this is the fourth year you've done it?
Yes, January would be the fourth time I'm doing it.
Awesome. So I want to get to that in a minute. But this last week, I was at the SMASH conference in Las Vegas. And I stayed at Las Ventanas, which is a CCRC. It's actually the only CCRC in Nevada that's operated by Human Good. And I spent some time talking to their executive director, Yvette. And she came into a building, and we're going to do some content on this. And they were really struggling, and she's really turned it around. The residents are delighted with her. And so I spent some time talking to her about what she did to make people fall in love with the community and fall in love with her. And what's so hard for me is that what she's doing is really simple, and it seems to be so hard for people to do. So when she walked in, she knew that there was a problem. The head of the resident council told me that I wonder if I'm not supposed to say this anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. That the prior executive director they had, that people either didn't like this person or didn't think about him, and so there was essentially no positive. And now everybody loves her. But you know what she did, Denise? All she did was wander around and talk to the residents and team member and say, what would make this better? What would make your life better here? Why is this is so simple, and why is it so hard?
I think we get caught up in the tasks. We get caught up in the the emergency of the day, and so some of this stuff seems like it'll take a ton of time. And so people say things like, "I don't have time for that," or "I intend to go connect with people, and then I wind up." Putting out this fire or that fire. And that's no judgment. I've been there. I was in operations for 17 years, as you know, as an administrator and as an ED. So that's no judgment, but it's sort of this, the day-to-day firefighting stuff takes precedent. And the only way we get ahead of the day-to-day firefighting stuff is by focusing on how it is to work there, which is that organizational culture. We actually had a client present at SMASH on the occupancy and culture connection, because we measured their culture last year and then measured it this year. And to see the difference in occupancy, it was the line of their occupancy and the line of their culture scores were almost exactly lined up, which was really neat.
That's cool. Can you say who it was?
Yeah, Continental Senior Communities.
Okay, perfect.
Ohio. Yeah,
I think that this is I think for me, one of the things that's really hard is that I hear this sort of people talk and say, well, you can either be focused on profits or you can be focused on providing quality care. And again, it's crazy making, because I think that if you want the high profits, you focus on creating great cultures, and the more, I won't say they automatically take care of themselves. I mean, you still have to pay attention to the budget stuff, right? But it's such the line as you describe is so parallel.
Well, and it does take care of itself, because the greatest source of revenue, occupancy, connected to culture. The greatest source of expenses, workforce, completely tied to culture. And so you have it impacting all of these outcomes in an organization or in a company on both sides, on the revenue and the expense side. So it does sort of take care of itself. Not that you're never going to look at your financials again, but people guess their culture, right? They'll say, we've got a great culture, or even our culture's not really good around here. But typically they're saying what a great culture they have. And if you ask, how do they know? They feel it in their gut, but they don't feel their occupancy numbers in their gut. And I don't know anyone that doesn't look at financials and just judges their financials based on their gut, right? They're looking at data.
That's right.
And that's the science behind this. Is I wish we had the same kind of approach to data for culture and some of the things that people think are nice to haves, as we do for things like occupancy and finances and so forth.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. I think that one of the big dangers that leaders always have to be aware of, and I know this applies to me for sure, is that it's really easy to convince yourself that you don't have problems that you might have because you don't see them. I recently ran 2 polls on LinkedIn where I asked leaders whether they were better, the same, or worse this year than last year. And 95% of them told me they were better than this year than last year. And then the following week, I asked people to tell me whether their leaders were better, the same, or worse. And only about 30% of them said their leaders were better. So there was this big, huge, massive disconnect. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your women. I'll let you respond to that. And I want to jump into your women's retreat.
Yes, perfect. I was going to say, to add to that, in the when we measure culture, we have found the same exact thing in organizations, Steve, that organizations, how the leaders rate their culture and how non-supervisory staff rate their culture, very different. And so, no judgment, because that leader, that's really their experience, but they're probably getting respect, and they're probably being listened to and so forth. So it's a different experience because they're in a different role.
Yeah. Well, I was at a presentation at the only day of ACA that happened, and there was a speaker who was talking about, I can't remember whether it was a poll or a survey or something, where leaders said that the 27% of the leaders said they had that people gossiped about leadership in their organization, and my immediate response was the rest of them are liars, right? Because everybody. I guarantee you, Jada, who produces this behind the scenes, does Jada and the rest of the team gossip about me and our organization when I'm not around? She's shaking her head no, but they do. I know they do. Because everybody does. Yeah. I did it in every place I ever worked. You did it in every place you worked.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about your women's retreat. What I want to know is why. So it's called Unlocked. And why did you start this?
Because, as you know, it's almost 5 years now, Steve. In 2019, November 2019, I had a mini stroke. And a big part of that mini stroke was related to stress. And as I was laying in the hospital, I decided that I was never going to live my life guided by stress again, that there was nothing that was more important than me being healthy, that me showing up at my best. Because if I didn't show up healthy and at my best, I wasn't going to be good to anyone, work, home, anything. So that brought me to this place of eliminating stress in my life. And I added so many things to just my normal day, and, still work hard and so forth. But I was telling friends and people of the thing, and they were picking up these things I was doing. And so it came to me in a meditation. I was meditating one day and I kept on getting this repeated message to start this retreat. And I was like, no. And then the next time I prayed, meditated, would come again. And I literally could not get that calling out of my mind, and decided okay, I got to do this and see what happens. And so that first year, I think we had 24 people. Last year we had 42. And it's amazing to see. And we've had, last year, I think we had 25% of the people that came had come to the year before or the year before that. So, and lots of word of mouth.
Cool. So what makes this different? I mean, there are so many events and retreats, and it just kind of goes on and on. What makes this one different?
Because it's really focused on that female leader. It's not focused on things in our field. It's not focused on the industry happenings. It's not focused on, all the outcomes I was just sharing directly. But what it's focused on is this leader showing up the best possible version of herself. And when she does that, then all those other outcomes come along. I think about when I was in operations and showing up stressed, that radiates out to the team, that frantic, right? That hurried, kind of way that I would bring myself to the world. Or, if you're having a bad day and you're annoyed about something, right? You can say, leave that at the door. You're one human being, home, work, or the Piggly Wiggly. I've never been in a Piggly Wiggly, but right. You're one person, whether you're at Target, Starbucks, or you're in your office at work. And so the opportunity to improve how that person is showing up in the world for herself, which radiates and ripples out. And that's in fact what we have seen.
So I think that I want to dig a little bit deeper into this. Yeah. I'm going to probably get myself in trouble here, but it feels a little bit like and I would, at least that's my perception, that women have maybe I'm not even sure how to put this, but have a harder time sort of separating the personal and professional, that there tends to be more bleed between the two. And so is that part of what is that, first off, is that a true statement? And second, is that what you're addressing?
Yes, I would agree with that, because women do still have the bulk of home and childcare and all those things, as well as, and it's not necessarily a bad thing versus good thing and so forth. It's just how women show up in the world, right? So the connection and relationships and so forth, all of that is different from women than it is in men. And so the ability to, most women in leadership positions will tell you they all think they're alone. That's the one of the things I should say that strikes me is every year people always say to me, oh my gosh, I thought it was only me. They feel like they're failing at everything. I'm failing my work because I'm not showing up, working hard enough, doing enough, working enough hours, getting the things done that I need to get done. I'm failing my organization. I'm failing my family because I'm not there for my kids. I'm not there for my partner or spouse or whatever, right? So I'm failing at that. I'm failing at home when I'm trying to keep things going at home, right? So it's just like you feel like you're doing everything sort of, can I curse? Half-ass.
Yeah, you can say that.
They can say that on real TV, so I feel like I can say it on Foresight TV. Yeah. But it feels like you're giving a little bit to everything. And the one thing that's typically left out of that equation is the woman.
Yeah.
And so they show up burnt out. They show out burnt out at home. And they're stressing that. Like I look at myself, right? So that was my message I got from the universe, right? Here's the message because it'll catch up with you. And I just tell people, it might be something simple like a migraine. It might be that you just don't feel your best. You feel overwhelmed and stressed all the time. It might come to you in the form of cancer. It might come in the form, for me, that mini stroke, right? Whatever all those things are all stress related. And if we have the opportunity to say, wait a second, might I be doing something different? So I think about, we had a CEO and a CFO that came and our first year and said, we're done. We're not, this field is not for us. Both moms, both younger kids, we can't do this, right? We're out. And they came to kind of figure out what they were going to do next. And they laughed and they said, it's not the job, it's how we've been showing up. And now that we've got some tools in our toolbox, we're going to continue. And they didn't leave. They're still at their organization. They came back last year again, the two of them. They're still at their organization 4 years later because they've got tools in their toolbox now to say, how might I deal with that in a different way?
Cool. So, I'd love to, do you have any other stories you can sort of tell me just about people who, why they've come and how it impacted their lives after they left? As you know, you and I are both, we love stories, and I continue to believe that it's one of the biggest failings in the industry is we have so many great stories, we don't tell them. And so I'm going to press you a little bit on the same thing.
Yeah. So we had a COO come, that same thing, overwhelmed, work, life, admittedly not showing up her best, like, knowing she was sort of failing, or at least feeling that way, that she was failing everybody that she, kind of touched in her life, and came to the retreat, same thing. And the tools that people take are different. Someone might resonate with something differently than somebody else. And there's a lot of individual work that goes on, a lot of one-on-one conversations. We also do group work. And so what people are taking is what they particularly need. But this person came and figured out strategies for that level of overwhelm that they had in their life. And their CEO told me that they could see a difference in this person. And so what's meaningful to me, Steve, is not to get a message like, it's great on the last day, right? At the end of a conference, you're always like, that was awesome. And then you go home and you do nothing, right? I wrote 50 pages of notes. It was fabulous. And then what did I do with those 50 pages of notes, right? What's really meaningful to me is that I will get texts sometimes years after they've gone to a retreat. I'll get a text, I'll get note cards from people saying how they are still using what they learned. I got a funny one recently from somebody that said, my husband got in a car accident. My kids had a stomach virus and were throwing up all over my white carpet. And she said, I would have responded to all of this very differently had I not gone to that retreat. Wow. And so to get that, whatever it was, 8 months after they've been to a retreat is deeply meaningful. And that seems like a little thing, but think about it. This person's then going to work. And how are they showing up at work if they're all stressed out and harried at home? They're not showing up open-minded for creative ideas. They're not showing up communicating in a way that people want to be open. They're not making decisions that are level-headed, right? So it's impacting the organization, even if they might not realize it in the moment or if the organization realizes it.
And it becomes a super downward spiral, right? So they don't show up well. Residents and team members react badly, which means the leader then reacts badly, and it's just, which
Yes.
is not good. It's not good for anybody, right?
And we've all done it, right? We've
absolutely
all done it. And I always think about that Zig Ziglar story where he talks about kicking the cat, where the executive comes in, yells at the administrative assistant. The administrative assistant gets all mad. So she goes and yells at one of the department managers, and the department manager gets mad and yells at somebody that works in the department. And the person that works in the department goes home and yells at their kid because they're frazzled from the day. And the kid's walking up the stairs all annoyed, and the cat's laying on the stairs, and he kicks the cat.
Yeah.
And then they say, like, who kicked the cat?
Yeah.
And so, that ripple effect, right, that it had on all those people, to your point, the customer experience of them interacting with them, as well as their family at home. And I always say, in our entire world, no pressure, right? But it's impacting our entire world because you're going to be not allowing someone to ease in front of you while you're driving and doing other kind things in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is such a theme in my life, in the content we produce, right? Is that I believe that we're all world changers. And, I know the starfish story has been told a million times, but I think it's an incredibly important story that, we change lives one person at a time. As you know, some others know, I've spent a good share of my life working with kids in a church setting. And I remember many, many years ago, we brought in sort of this big name within our denomination, this big name speaker. And I was so excited to actually the kids, they're going to really love this. But what I discovered was that my kids were kind of, it was okay. But they'd actually really rather hang out with me, even though I wasn't this big name, charismatic guy, because I was the person who was involved and invested in their lives.
Yeah.
And that's our opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That sense of really connecting with somebody. I had a team member once say to me years ago in a focus group, if our leaders don't bother with us, it's really hard for us to go into an apartment and act like we're excited to see that resident and want to connect with that resident when we're feeling like sort of the dirt on the bottom of somebody's shoe because they didn't bother interacting with us. Now, that not bothering with interacting with us was probably not that person screaming on that the person in the hallway. This was probably something as simple as, my husband got in a car accident. My white rug is now green because my kids have been puking over all morning, and my head's going and I'm just not present. And so I walk by this person, and what does that result in? That feeling of they can't even be bothered with me. And then this person's going into this super high-end organization and supposed to give a great customer experience. So once again, that ripple effect really, there's I don't know. There's not enough words to stress. I don't think that the ripple effect that has on people when we are not showing up our best, or when we do show up our best for others.
Perfect. So I want to hit two more topics. The first thing I'd actually like to let me tell you what they are. I'd like to walk through a little bit what the retreat is actually like. I'd like to sort of have a little vicarious experience of it here on our live stream, and then I want to actually spend a little bit of time just talking about purpose in life and how this all plays into what we do. But so let's start with sort of what's the retreat actually like?
Yeah. So it's really important to me that people be able to go back with something to use, right? That it's not just inspirational and interesting and so forth, that they really have something that they can use. So we gather on Wednesday night. We have a welcome reception for people to get to know each other. We sit people purposefully, people from different organizations at different tables. So they're not, or if they come, like we've had sisters come, we've had moms and daughters come, we've had people send multiple people from an organization. We sit them separately. So they're with people they don't know, that they can authentically share, which is really sad, isn't it? That we can more authentically share with people we don't know than with our friends. I mean, how's that for what our world is like? But so we gather Wednesday night, they get to meet. And then Thursday, we start really people checking in through journaling, answering very specific prompts about what they want in life, what they don't want in life. They actually identify the feelings that they have most often in their life, ones that they want to have and ones that they don't want to have, and appreciating both of those things. And I won't spoil it and tell you how they learn how to appreciate it, but they learn how to appreciate both of those positive emotions and feelings that they want to have, as well as the ones that are giving them a message something needs to change that they don't want. And they keep on diving deeper and deeper into what they really want out of life. Once they get there, we work on creating a list of, values that are personally important to them. So there's a list of words that they choose from, but they can make words up, or choose words that aren't on that list. I guess they can make up a word too, but choose words on that list. And they define just really up to like 5 values that are important to them personally. And then, right, and then sort of like, who cares, right? Personal values, what does that mean? I always say, like, that saved me. My personal values saved me, and they still do to this day. Because when I'm feeling any way that I don't want to feel, angry, overwhelmed, stressed, depressed, whatever it might be, I look at my values and I say, what's off? What's missing? And when you talk about purpose, Steve, right, this kind of goes into that. So one of my values is vivacious, right, which is like about feeling alive and so forth. So I could look at that and say, I haven't done anything that makes me feel that way. Another one of my values is illuminating others. So lifting people up, illuminating. If I'm feeling whatever way that I don't want to feel, I can look at that and say, you know what? I haven't interacted with people because I've been stuck in my office, and I need to do something that's going to illuminate somebody else and lift them up. And in return, I'm living one of my personal values, which makes me feel better. And so getting to that personal values takes a lot of deep work, because otherwise they're just really surface, and they tend to be things like family and humor and fun and so forth. And not that there's anything wrong with those things, but we really want to dive deep into like, what makes us feel like I want to get out of bed in the morning? Like I actually did what I wanted to do. And then I come to the end of my life and I'm like, my gosh, I've lived a life that I wanted to live. And so they come to those values and then they define them. Whenever I do this, this, or this, I'm living that value. And so there's not, one of my values is strong, and it's strong of body, strong of mind. So it might be the gym, but it also might be when I meditate. So if I didn't go to the gym today, I'm not beating myself up. I didn't go to the gym. I'm saying, but I did meditate. I rarely miss a day with meditation. So, right, I did meditate. So that's helping me be strong of mind. So we want to set people up for success with these values, so they're feeling that they are living them, rather than strong. I'm going to run a marathon in 3 hours. I don't even know what a marathon run is. I've never done one, so who knows? Whatever. I'm going to run a marathon in 2.5 hours. And then I feel like I failed if I've not done that. I want to set myself up that I'm stretching myself, but I'm also succeeding.
So talk to me about the difference between values and purpose.
Yeah. So values are our guides in life, how we are interacting and showing up, right? They're guiding our behaviors. I'm sure we'd all want more money in our life. Very few of us are going to go into a bank and rob it because we want more money, right? Because one of our values is we're not going to take something that's not ours, right? So, I mean, that's obviously a simple explanation, or example, but values are what guides everything we do, what we buy, who our friends are, what we do with our time, our work, hopefully, our hobbies, all of that is being guided by our values. So they're really creating those behaviors. And if we can have work and life, and those two things are not separate, filled with purpose, so doing something that is deeply meaningful to me when I show up in the world. So, when I'm illuminating others, that's purpose to me. Like, my purpose on this earth is to help people lead with love. To really just to lead with love, to set that example for others. And that's sometimes through my work. And that's lots of times not through my work. It's things that I'm doing in my personal time. That I do a lot of, I have these hearts that I carry in my bag when I travel that say, you make a difference in the world. And if I have money on me, if I have a $50 bill or $100 bill, and I see a good human in the world, very often when I'm traveling, I just did it in Atlanta. I ruined my computer because of it. I got my heart out of my bag and the $100 bill to give the bathroom attendant, who was so beautiful, to all these people coming in the restroom and saying goodbye to them. And, most people, I don't think I saw anybody tip her. Didn't matter. Like, she still kept that, have a blessed trip. I'm so glad I got to interact with you today. You have got to be just the way she was pouring her love into people. And I said to her, I travel a lot. So you showing up in the world and doing what you do, having a clean bathroom and making me feel comfortable. But beyond that, just how you're showing your love, it feels so good in this ladies' room because of the love you're bringing into it. And I want to thank you. And I gave her the heart, and I gave her a $100 bill with it. And so that's me living my purpose. I'm leading with love, right? And that's my personal side, but I also get to do it with my work. And that's why I love what I do. I'll work all this weekend. And I haven't been home for the last 10 days, but it doesn't matter because my work is so purposeful that it doesn't matter. But I do it through my values.
Well, then I want to give you sort of one of the things you've really helped me see that I appreciate so much is that I get onto Facebook, right? And right now people are just bashing each other over politics, right? And honestly, people love to hate the other side. And you've talked so often about how you just have decided to disengage in that because there's no love there.
Yeah.
And it's hate. And it's really helped me your example has really helped me to step back from that and realize that it's sometimes, particularly right now, one of the beautiful things about Facebook is it's got this 30-day snooze, right? And so I find myself more and more people, it's like, I don't want to disconnect with you, but I don't really want to see the crap that you're posting, and at least I think it'll go away after the election happens, and so I'll see you in 30 days. And it makes me a better person. It makes how I interact with other people better. And I wish I didn't sort of react as badly as I do to some of those negative comments. And I see it on both sides, and I hate it on both sides. I'm actually, my complaint is the negativity about it. I don't. You got to vote your conscience, right? So
yes.
So we're actually way over time here. No, well, we're a little over time here. I want to let's just hit some details on the conference. There's a link to your retreat. There's links in the comments. And Jada's just put it up on the screen. And what are the dates on it? And
you would think I would know this, right? It's January 8th, 9th, and 10th. I did have it right. 8th, 9th, and 10th. So it starts Wednesday night in Key West, and then it ends on the 10th. A lot of people wind up spending the weekend just to kind of decompress from everything and continue to share with that group. And that's the other thing that's come out of it is just these people that we call them soul sisters that kind of connect and continue to connect, become lifelong friends because of this experience. But it's the 8th, 9th, and 10th, and it is in Key West, Florida. And so most people fly right into the airport, and it's like 10 minutes from there. And everything's outside, which is really neat because it's the environment too that I think just really opens people up. We're never inside except to sleep. That's the only thing that is done inside. Everything is outside on the water. And even being in that magical location really opens people up.
Yeah, and I would just say there's such good data about how being outdoors actually improves everything in people's lives.
Creativity and
Exactly. And of course, the one thing I would just say is that what they really need to do when they're not done with your retreat is they need to get on an airplane, fly to Las Vegas, and join us to talk about AI and senior living.
I was thinking that they could go right from here to Vegas. I thought
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So anyway, Denise, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the world a better place for people. It warms my heart to see that. I know it's a big part of your purpose. It's a big part of my purpose. I feel best when I know that I've had an impact on somebody's life, whether they say thank you or not. Just made a difference. So with that, thank you. Have a very great week, a terrific weekend. All of you go out and change somebody's life. Because when you touch one person's life, you are changing the world. And with that, we are out of here until next week.